If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Welcome back to the conversation, CEO Mischief Makers. It's Friday. I love Fridays. Friday is the time when we get to encapsulate everything we talked about in the week, Monday and Wednesday, mindset and impact and innovation, and we get to actually apply it in real life situations and figure out, all right, yeah, it's great talking about all that fun stuff, woo-woo stuff, MK, but how do we actually make things happen? So my guest, continuing this conversation, Anthony Nitsos. If you haven't listened to those first two episodes, you need to. Welcome back, Anthony. Let's dive into getting, shit done. We talked about finance. We talked about business ownership. Now, strategy and tactics. How do you apply the things that we've talked about and actually help your clients sleep better at night? What do you actually do to actually help enable that?
It's really very straightforward. 80 to 90% of my time when I'm discussing things with clients. Now, keep in mind, I'm in the startup space. So there's some nuances here, but they're nuances. They're fundamentally the same. But in the startup space, when you're trying to get your company up and off the ground, and even if once you're up and off the ground, because we have plenty of clients that we call bootstrappers, ones that didn't take investment money but grew their company anyway, it is the ability to know where your cash is headed. That is the number one reason I find why CEOs lose sleep, right? Whether it's their own company or they're brought in to run a company, the greatest anxiety is not knowing where your cash is heading, and not knowing how to fix it is even worse, right? And the part and parcel of that is your ability to forecast your sales. Because anybody can spend money, right? But getting customers to part their hard-earned money and put it into your pocket, figuratively speaking, that is the magic sauce that separates the ones that are successful from the ones that aren't. And I mean, if you don't sell, then you can't cover your expenses. If you don't sell, you can't get your next investment round. So that those two metrics, if you will, the two that are more important than anything else are your cash forecast and your sales growth forecast. After that, everything's details. You nail those two, you're going to sleep at night. You are, because you're going to know what you need to know.
Wow. Simple, but can you give me some tools or tactics for each? So if you're looking cash, what are some of the things I need to do to forecast my cash and know where it's going? And what are some of the things I need to do to make sure my sales are producing what I need to actually the sales kind of feeds that cash, I would assume.
So of course I sell, right? I'm the CEO of a services company. So I know a few things about selling. I've been selling for the better part of 20 years. So I know a few things about it, from the seat of the pants type of stuff. But I've also watched many, many, many companies struggle with this, right? And I can tell you when it's not working correctly. I can't tell you exactly how to make it work, because you need to know your market. You need to know you need to know your target segments. You need to know your ideal customer profile. You need to know the personas. You need to know exactly why they buy. You need to know what the pain points are. You need a GTM. It's called a go-to-market strategy, and it needs to be very clear in your mind. This is how we get to our customers and get them to buy our product. If you don't have that figured out, you're going to struggle. Mm-hmm. So one, identifying a GTM that actually works, that's something that, it takes hard work and input. It takes knowledge, it takes experience. Like I said, I can't tell you how to sell to healthcare organizations, but I can tell you that it takes 9 to 18 months to sell to them because their internal processes take that long to approve any major buys.
Yeah.
So it's really along the lines of how well do you know your target? I'm very specific. My target is CEOs and founders of SaaS companies in the pre-money to B round of investment stage. It's very clear defined. We are a niche specialty. That's what we do. What do you do for your customers? Who are they? You can't boil the ocean. Oh, everybody can be my customer. No, they
Yeah.
cannot. Okay, let's just be realistic. Who do you go after first that's easiest to get to with the value proposition? Do you have the product market fit? Do you have the right product for the market? Or are you in the wrong market with the wrong product? That could be a fundamental issue. If you have the right product market fit, do you have the right execution strategy? That could be a process issue. So you can apply Deming back to this as well. It doesn't really go away anywhere. But to run your business, that first key ingredient is, when's the money coming in my door? After that, the second piece is you need to make sure that your accounting system is producing the financial reports that look like your budget, that you have a budget, or call it a projection if you don't want to call it a budget, but you have a 12 to 24 month by month look forward on exactly how you're spending your money and how you're getting it from your customers. That's how you build a cash forecast. And it's not done with percentages. We do it like, okay, you have 15 employees. We're going to put all 15 employees into the model with their salaries and their benefits and everything else.
Yeah.
Our financial models get to be very detailed. Why? Because you're taking what happened in accounting and you're just moving it into the finance model. And you're doing that every month. Every month. You're updating it. You're revisiting. You do not, it's like creating a child, right? You don't just have a child and say, okay, go take care of it. There's a crib, go for it, right? No, you got to feed and water it and wipe its bottom and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Financial running a company is the same way, right? You can't just leave it unattended. And your financial model is the baby, as far as I'm concerned. The first time you create one, then you need to validate it, make sure that you accounted for everything properly, constantly revisit it. But leading all of that, the first conversation I have with every client before we sit down and build their financial forecast is, tell me how you forecast sales. Tell me about your pipeline. How do you get leads? What's your lead gen machine? Do you have relationships between, here's how many cold leads it takes to turn into hot leads, here how many hot leads turn into meetings, here how many meetings turn into sales?
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take with each of those stages? That's the numerical aspect. Well, you can't answer those numerical aspects unless you have the go-to-market strategy that lays out how that all happens. As a CFO, my main mission is to build value in the company, right? To do that, I need to keep the company out of trouble, and I need to give it all the information that it has in order to run itself better and maximize opportunities. That all boils down to that cash forecast. Because either you don't know when you're going to run out of money and you need to, or you're making so much cash you need to figure out what to do with it.
Where to go with it?
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's the other client set that we have, which is, you're making boodles of money. Okay. Why are we paying all this money to the tax people?
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to shelter it? What can we do to tax affect it in a way that's legal and legitimate, right? So the conversation shifts from how long until we run out of money if you're VC backed, to what do we do with the capital that we're creating? Are we creating enough capital? Why not? If we are creating enough capital, what do we do with it? Do we lean into sales and marketing and grow it even taller? Do we retire our tech debt and rewrite our code so that we have better operating code? Do we bring AI into the house and start mining all the data that we've accumulated over our customers and using it for predictive products that nobody's thought of before? That all plays together, but it revolves around the kitchen table of cash.
Yeah. I have to throw a wrench into this by saying that, especially because we are an internet-based society now, that has fundamentally changed the way we communicate, the way we operate. It's obviously we still have to make money and spend money as a business. Those things are never going to change. But because of this internet change in our society, and because of the generation that's coming up, that software is ubiquitous to them. They are raised with it. It's a fact of breathing to them.
Mm-hmm.
all of the normal things that we looked at with cold outreach and, yes, pipelines are important. We need to adapt those things now to this generation that is now based on community and word of mouth, way more important than cold outreach on social, email marketing, and funnels.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can we add that word of mouth and community aspect and kind of the dark social aspect of not dark web, the bad stuff, but dark social, where conversations happen in places we can't necessarily enumerate? We can't necessarily add them to our data sets as to where our customers are hearing from us because they're happening in text conversations, they're happening in private groups, and we don't have that data. So, how can we add that aspect into our forecasting?
So as you pointed out, you can't break in from the outside, right? By its nature, you can't. Okay. But what you do is you make sure that when the conversations do happen in those rooms, what they have to say about you and your product is fabulous,
Yes.
is amazing, right? I can't control the CEOs who get together at a venture capital conference and start talking about, their headaches. But I want the CEOs that are our clients that are going to those conferences, they don't have a headache when it comes to finance.
Yeah.
They don't have a headache when it comes to figuring out how to price a contract. They don't have a headache when it comes out to figuring out how much their company's worth because they've got an expert who's already answered those questions for them, right? I mean, that goes back to the mindset of SaaS gurus and how we operate and how we serve our clients. Accessibility, okay, responsiveness. It's stuff that we all know, right? It's what we love to have from our service providers, right? When I call when I call the company to fix my garage door, I want them to tell me
Yeah.
when they can get here, how quickly they can get here, how inexpensively they can fix my problem, and how quickly they can get it fixed.
Yeah.
I'm not here calling them to say, "Hey, can you come out and figure it out?" And then they spend 3 hours. No, we're there with answers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in the world of text, in the world of, all the social media that goes on behind the scenes, the only way that you can have a hope of control, in my mind, I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. This is just how I'm living it. Okay. I think it's right because I'm getting the results, but it's just make sure that you live up to your fullest potential when it comes to you as a company so that you really impress your customers. You're not just there to serve their, yeah, that it's a commodity, right? If it's a commodity, then it's a commodity. Nobody talks about a commodity, but everybody
That's
talks
right.
about, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely. Did you hear that, everyone? Please go back and listen to that because that is how you build a community. That is how you influence word of mouth. You may not be able to quantify it. You may not be able to put it on a spreadsheet as to exactly how you're impacting sales. Uh, but you can impact your sales and you can put it on the spreadsheet by saying, we serve our customers beyond just serving our customers. We are above and beyond. We anticipate all the things that Anthony's talked about over these last 3 episodes. And if you do that, you will not only stand out, everything, you have the mindset to do that, you innovate your space and be different. People notice different. People know what different looks like and feels like. And when you do that, you will influence your sales and actually create what we call super consumers. And those super consumers will go to conferences and say, when somebody's complaining about their whatever that you do, that they can't find a good way to do it, your customers will go, I don't have an issue with that because I use so and so. And they've handled that and it's beautiful and I don't even think about it. This is my issue. And they talk about something else. But they are also talking about you as the solution that is the reason they are not up at night for your specific zone of genius, your zone of influence. Wow. Okay, Anthony, you just wrapped that up perfectly. Is there any last piece of advice that you would like to give those listening in the audience to help them sleep better at night?
It comes down to happiness, right? If your team isn't happy, you're not going to be happy. If your clients aren't happy, you're not going to be happy. If the people around you are not happy, I don't know, unless you're socially a social misfit of some kind, you're not going to be happy, right? Now there are those people that live lives like that. I'm not one of them, right? I I like to wake up and enjoy what I do each day. I like to know that what I'm doing is I'm helping clients keep their employees employed, that those people can go home and pay their mortgages and take their kids and do fun things with them and not have to lose their sleep, right? It's not just the CEOs. It's the people that work for them. We're working for them just as hard as we're working for the CEOs. In my mind, the employees of the companies are just as important. But the employees of my own company are just as important. And protecting them and having their backs and making sure that they have everything they need in order to succeed, that and giving them the ownership of that process, that all builds this I call it a happiness index, right? And it's really that sense of not having dread, not having anxiety, of walking into a client room knowing you've got, even if you don't have the answers, you can figure them out, and not being afraid to say I don't know, right? It just comes down to, if you can make it so that your people are enjoying what they're doing and you're enjoying what you're doing, it's just going to spill everywhere. It's going to go everywhere. And if you believe in the law of attraction, then the energy you send out into the universe is going to come back. Call it karma if you want, call it, just desserts. I don't care what you want to call it, but it's the idea that if I'm doing good by people, good people will do good by me. And hope that, and when it doesn't turn out that way, okay, move on, right? Don't take it personally, right? It's there are jerks out there. Okay, you just need to know how to say, okay, this guy's a jerk or this gal's a jerk. I don't want to deal with him anymore, and move on.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.